Welcome to the Rabbit Hole, episode 107.
Ugh.
And today we have three very funny topics, actually. I mean, it's science related, but not the usual thing, I would say, right?
Well, I think
Hello, Carl.
Hi, Rafa. Morning. Yeah, I suggested these three topics, and one of them is definitely a and finally kind of thing, but the other two are actually a little bit. I don't know. They're kind of novel, I suppose. Do you think?
Yeah, I would say so.
But you can see the usefulness, right?
I think that from all of them, the first one is the one I found the most interesting.
All right, that's interesting. Okay, we can have that discussion
Yeah.
as we go. So let's get on with it, right?
Let's get on with the first one.
I've got a feeling, that I've seen something like this in a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure I have. But anyway, the first one is research. Well, it's more than research. They've actually done it,
Uh-huh.
and it is a new way of mending broken bones, or I suppose, what is that? Fractured rather than as well as broken. And basically, a bunch of scientists who I'm trying to find out. Oh, yeah, it's Oh, no, he wasn't the South Korea. Oh, they do come up with some interesting things. Right.
And TV shows too.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those. They're very suspect. Anyway, they came up with an idea about how to mend broken bones using what they ended up doing was using a modified hot glue gun. Now, I'm pretty sure most people are aware of these things. You use them in like arts and crafts and other things.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a little gun that you hold in your hand, and you put these rods of glue in, which it melts and then pushes out the nozzle at the front, and you can glue all kinds of stuff. Anyway, these guys, what they did was they took a regular glue gun and they created a glue, like a biological glue.
Yeah.
And it was a mixture of 50% of a substance that is, it was a mixture of a substance that makes up 50% of the volume of normal human bones,
Mm-hmm.
and a biodegradable thermoplastic. And actually later they also added some antibacterial compounds into this biological glue.
Yeah.
And then basically, I mean, this is almost like you shouldn't really try this at home, but blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But they actually then just squirted this glue, this biological glue, into bone breaks, and then, dressed up the wound and just monitored it. And what they found was that after 12 weeks, there were no signs of any problems or separation between the glue and the bone. And the bone volume was more than twice as high in the animals that were treated with the glue rather than where it was done with a more traditional kind of bone cement arrangement. Right. I mean, you can see the immediate use in like a battlefield scenario, can't you?
And not only battlefield. Honestly, the first thing I remember is, for example, at some point when I was a kid, I broke my leg, and it took, I don't know, so 2-3 months to be able to have the bone again fusing together, and wearing cast and so on. I think this kind of technique can help actually accelerate this recovery process, because imagine that the glue is actually what is keeping everything together.
Right.
Therefore, faster than you could imagine, start to be having a regular life again.
Yes, sort of being able to get to at least use it.
Yes, of course, you have to be careful because anyway, it's not yet the bone on it. But the other important point here is the fact that it stimulates the bone density to be able to heal completely, which anyway, it is mentioned in many places, or it's at least known by or commented a lot, the fact that after you break a bone, usually if it's properly
Mended.
treated and done, it's stronger than it was the bone before in that joint.
Because you get additional bone material, don't you? Like
Exactly.
scarring bone material or something.
Exactly. So now imagine that the gun faster created that bonding with the bone, and like they were saying, there's no residue, there's no biological problems with that.
Yeah.
So you get and you end up having stronger bones in the place where it broke, basically.
Yeah. And what I found interesting was that in the piece, they did actually ask an independent scientist. They asked an independent scientist in the UK what he thought of what they'd done, and he just, I think he was slightly annoyed that he hadn't thought of it because I haven't included an entire quote here, but he said at the end, they said to him, "Do you think this is an interesting concept?" And he said, "Yes." Could it possibly work? Could it feasibly work? He said yes. Do you think it's within the range of the plausible? And he said yes. And then he went, but this might not be the thing. Almost like, shit. Wish I'd thought of that. Because to me, the alternative, apparently, one alternative is to create a scaffold for the broken bone gap using 3D printing technology, and I think we've maybe covered something like that in the past. And then, of course, there are the more traditional treatments using
Screws
bone
and
glues
plates
and plates. But I mean,
when it's a surgery,
But I mean, this idea sounds so. It's almost intuitively obvious that you could do something like this, and these guys have done it. I think it's pretty amazing, don't you?
Yeah, I think that when you think about these kind of new applications of common things, come also with the fact that also our technology and our way of thinking has changed. Because in the past, you would imagine that you wouldn't have a glue gun to glue stuff.
Exactly, they didn't exist, right?
So there's no way for people that could have imagined to use something like that.
You're right.
They would just basically think, okay, how do I let it heal? Let's immobilize it and let's make it not move. So the patient doesn't get that thing of, I'll move it and I will just put it in a cast and stays there. And
although I suppose before glue guns there were, these guns where you put the tubes in, where you the bigger ones.
Yeah, but I'm
you're
talking
right.
about
It's not the same thing, is it?
No.
Right?
Yeah.
But I mean, you can see it as an emergency thing.
For sure. I would even see it as a normal way now to treat fractures in general.
Well, obviously, it's probably going to be years before you see anything like it. But I just found it fascinating that somebody had actually done it.
Uh-huh.
And it's one of those ideas where, as soon as you read about it, you go, "Well, yeah, that's obvious, right? that you'd tried that."
Yeah.
But of course, you never think of it. But when you see it, you think, "Oh, that's such a
makes sense, right?"
Yeah, totally. Makes sense. Why didn't somebody do that? How long have we had glue guns? Like 30 years,
Yeah, a long time actually. Yeah.
Anyway, so that is mine, and the next one is yours, I think.
Yeah, let's talk about mosquitoes and 3D printing.
Yeah, not an obvious connection there.
No, there's really nothing obvious about that. But so turns out that Chang Hong Kao at the McGill University in Montreal, in Canada, and his colleagues developed a very specific technique, which they called 3D necroprinting.
Which I quite like.
I think you start to see where this is going. Well, the thing is, because they were actually trying to create or use a very, very narrow nozzle in a 3D printer.
Very narrow.
They couldn't really actually find it. So the closest they found was like a 35 micrometers nozzle that they could use in a 3D printer. And the idea is that they want to be able to do create a 3D printing of human fibers,
like cells
muscles,
and all that
cells,
kind of thing,
or something that could help into create, even organs, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Handle the task of, let's recreate something for the person and use special material in the nozzles to be able to do it. So how then they did it? This is where comes in play the mosquito.
Yeah.
Because mosquitoes, let me see if I can pronounce it correctly. Proboscis.
Proboscis, yeah.
Proboscis. Basically, what they did was severed one from a mosquito and turn it into a very fine 3D printing nozzle that can actually replace, help to create the tissues for organ replacement and transplants and so on.
They actually looked at other options like stingers from scorpions and snake fangs, but they found this mosquito proboscis was the best in that it had an internal diameter of 20 micrometers, so it was even finer than the finest man-made tube, for want of a better word. And they last a couple of weeks. Each one lasts a couple of weeks.
But they realized that actually they can actually store frozen many of those for up to a year.
Yeah, but
so they can have replacements.
That's not a sentence I thought we would be uttering this week. Freezing mosquito proboscises.
Just to be able to replace, when you need to print something.
Yeah, and what I found was slightly amusing was that they said that one of the problems with the commercially available fine nozzles was that they have a hefty price tag of $80, 80 US dollars, right? But that did I include this? That the getting a student, a graduate, to prepare a nozzle using a mosquito proboscis only cost $1, right? I don't think I included that in the notes, but that's what they said, that it only cost $1 because, they just get a student to do it, right? And then I thought, that's quite interesting because I've got a horrible feeling that when they say it only costs $1, they mean the material cost is $1. They're not accounting for the labor cost of the student.
Because it's a student.
And it wouldn't...
It's a student. You don't pay.
You don't pay students, right? They're just slaves, right?
Exactly. They will get a grade and they are happy.
That's right. Yeah, I gave you a B+. What more do you want, right?
Yeah. But it's super interesting, actually, because, like you said, the cost of the material and how expensive would it be to create a farm of mosquitoes that you can just,
Well, you could hybridize them to emphasize the size of the length of their snout or whatever.
Yeah, I was reading the name of this material that they are using for the 3D printing, which is called Pluronic F127, 127. And it's so incredible because it can actually create even blood vessels,
I know, it's
and
amazing.
that is amazing. I mean, for that size, because and makes kind of sense when you think about it. I mean,
Yeah,
if the nozzle of made from the mosquito, it's that small,
so
it's
fine.
super cool that you can create even a blood vessel.
Yeah, yeah, because isn't what they do is they part of the issue with like building biological tissue doodahs is the blood supply,
Mm-hmm.
and that they can create the cells or they can grow the cells on a scaffold, but the cells, the material, the biological material needs a blood supply. So clearly, this
Yeah.
pleuronic F127
Mm-hmm.
is obviously what they're using to kind of build the scaffold with the blood vessels built in, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Which is absolutely astonishing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Now, while I find this one super interesting and with a lot of applications for the future,
yeah,
I think from the first two, the one that I think still has the faster
faster track.
application and track is
Mhm.
the one of the glue gun.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, come on, what do you'd imagine you could get to human trials? At least they did do it on the small animals, but you can imagine that, for example, vets could
Mm-hmm.
could be the
Yeah,
first people to use that kind of thing, right?
that's correct. Yeah, yeah.
You know, that would be an amazing way of trialing that technology, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. All
And
right.
then, humans later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. Shall I do this, the last one?
Yes, the last one is yours.
It's this is one of those and finally subjects uh, that you get at the end of the news, where it's we need a bit of light relief from
Yeah.
the carnage, and this is to do with seagulls.
Mm.
And seagulls around the world are a bit of a nuisance. Now, in the UK, the what we call seagulls are actually herring gulls. So you can guess what they're meant to be eating, and it's not gulls, it's herring. Oh, gave that one away. Anyway, the problem is that because there is erosion of their natural habitats all around the world, herring gulls, which normally, do their own foraging, are increasingly kind of getting their beaks into human food.
Yeah.
And we have many examples in the UK. For example, on the south coast, there is a town called Brighton, which is a rather nice seaside town. And there is a very famous seagull there it's called Steve.
Okay.
And the reason why it's, well, not the reason why it's called Steve, but it's called Steve because it hovers around the same place all the time. And remember that seagulls live quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve, the seagull, uh, his party trick is he hangs around outside shops on the seafront on the promenade area, food shops, and when somebody goes in and opens the door to go in, because usually the weather in the UK is appalling, so you keep the door shut, right? Steve uh, tailgates the customer into the shop by walking behind them,
Walking behind, yes.
walking them behind the customer, and then it shoots off down the aisles because it knows what it wants, and it heads for the like bags of crisps and chips and anything that's in a bag, and it just grabs it and legs it out the door. So this is a big thing in the
Yeah,
UK.
yeah.
It's highly amusing, and anyway, so here's the thing: how can you deter gulls from going at your food? Well, apparently, gulls have a very acute sense of hearing. And a bunch of guys, who are they? Let me try and find who they are. Can you find who they are? Where does it say who they are? These scientists. Uh,
Um. Hmm.
can't see it. There you go. I missed
Yeah.
that bit out. Anyway, it's in the UK,
Yeah.
and they carried out an experiment, and what they wanted to figure out was, could you shout at a seagull? And if you shouted at a seagull, what would it do?
Yeah.
Anyway, the clue is in the title of this piece, which is, yes, shouting at seagulls actually works, right? So what they did was they had a lot of anecdotal evidence that shouting at seagulls made them back off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or fly away. But they didn't know whether it was a loud noise or whatever. And what they
Yeah.
wanted to try and understand was, can they actually understand,
Uh-huh.
a bit like a dog does? We now know that dogs do actually understand some of our vocabulary. Uh, are seagulls doing the same thing, or is it something else? So
Mm-hmm.
what they did was they got some British guys, and we'll come to why they only chose men in a minute, but they chose British men. And basically, what they did was they did two sets of recordings. One was the men saying the same words for the same amount of time, but in a normal speaking voice.
Yeah.
And then they recorded the men again with the same words for the same amount of time, but shouting. And then what they did was they created a similar length recording, but using bird song from a
Yeah.
bird from Africa that the seagulls would never have been exposed to. Okay.
Well, in the article said that they also used European robins.
Was it a European one? I thought it was from
Yeah.
Africa or something.
No, European robins for the trial,
Right. Well,
but they
clearly,
tried also other kind of
right.
birds as well.
Okay. Well, clearly these. Oh yeah, the Song of European Robins. Right. I mean, clearly these seagulls had never been abroad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were proper British seagulls. No foreign trips for them, right? And anyway, the upshot is that when they played the bird song, the reference bird song, the seagulls literally ignored it.
Mm-hmm.
When they played the human voice recording in a normal speaking voice, they tended to kind of move away from the food, but remained on the ground.
Yeah.
But when they played the shouting, angry tone recording of the same words, they flew off and didn't come back in the short term.
Uh-huh.
And what was concluded was that they don't understand, they still don't think they understand the words, any of the words,
But the intention, right, on the
the
voice.
intention, the tone.
Yeah.
So, and apparently there is, well, not apparently, there is plenty of evidence that dogs do the same thing, horses do the same thing. That is, they pick up the emotional tone of the voice,
Mm-hmm.
and it's that has the effect. So their conclusion was that there are humane ways of, you don't have to shoot them, anesthetize them, set predator
Yeah.
birds on them. You can just use human voice tones to clear them away.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was quite interesting. I don't know. I mean,
Well,
this is a global problem, isn't it? Seagulls.
I not well. It depends. I would say doves would be more of an issue more in many cities.
They're not as aggressive, though, are they?
Well,
Doves. You mean
I don't
pigeons,
know.
basically?
Pigeons, yeah,
Yeah. The flying rat.
exactly. Flying rats. I think if that would apply also for those, then
Yeah, I
you
don't
could
know.
have a different thing. But
I think they've tried many things with pigeons, and the only thing that works is poison. They don't respond to reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, well, I understand that seagull problems of this nature in coastal areas is a problem wherever they are because of degradation of their natural feeding uh, habitats.
Yeah.
They're just not able to catch as much fish as they were able to because we're eating it all
Yeah.
or poisoning it with plastic particles. So
Mm-hmm.
they've got us to thank for their predicaments, as usual. But yeah, I think I may have to try it next time I'm down by the coast.
To have your own recording so you can,
No, I might just try shouting at them.
blast it.
I've been down on the coast last year, sunny day, sampling that traditional thing that you eat by the coast in England, which is fish and chips, obviously.
Uh-huh.
So, and I had the experience of sat on a bench eating fish and chips, and there were two seagulls, and they're pretty big, right? I mean, they're like
Uh-huh.
2.5 feet high from the feet to the top of the head, and they're walking up and down like just out of my field of vision, and they're
Just
walking up and down,
waiting.
and all I could imagine was they're almost like whistling, pretending to be, oh, I'm just
La,
walking
la.
up and down,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, and they were like just waiting for an
Yeah.
opportunity to like jump in,
Yeah.
and they are really quite. Well, they're entertaining, obviously, until they're not.
Until
Right?
until you suffer from that.
Yeah, but there's a very famous bit of a picture of a seagull in the UK, and basically there's a guy stood at like a seafront, like a railing, and the kind of sea's there, and he's stood at the railing looking at the sea, and he has a bag of chips in his hand. And the photographer took a picture because there was a seagull hovering like 2 feet above his head because there was a wind blowing off the sea.
Uh-huh.
So it was this picture of this seagull like flapping its wings like stationary above his head, waiting to dive.
Waiting to dive in and get
It's an absolutely brilliant picture. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, and the eagle's like, you can see it's totally concentrating on the movements of this bag of chips.
Yeah.
Just brilliant. Anyway, so that's the and finally for today.
Yes. That's the last piece of that we will talk today.
Yeah,
And I think it was interesting, was funny to talk about those subjects.
yeah, they were good. The two sciencey ones were actually interesting.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with you. The bone glue gun, that's going to be the first one you're going to see of those two.
I think so.
So, yeah.
Well,
Anyway, thanks,
thank you,
Rafa.
Carl.
Yeah.
See you in the next episode. And
Yeah.
don't forget, the usual things that everybody says. Subscribe, like it, share it, just whatever.
Oh, I thought you were going to say stay safe out there or something.
Well, if
Or-
you want, I don't know.
Or in my case, now go back indoors and get warm.
And get warm, yeah. All right. See
Okay.
you next time.
Yeah, bye.